What exactly is the concern for the consulate and indeed for the government concerning the 2023 elections?
We're very focused on process, and we want to make sure that there are credible, free, and fair elections and peaceful elections. So we have been working with INEC on putting in, through USAID, mechanisms to ensure that the elections are transparent and free so that Nigerians can reflect their will at the polls. And we want to see people vote.
Okay, all right. You want to see people vote. So we know that there are electoral monitoring teams almost everywhere in the world. Even our Nigerians have been involved in the monitoring teams in Kenya and Rwanda and even Sierra Leone. I remember sending a batch through the ECOWAS. So are we going to see a similar outtake here? Coming in 23?
Our hope is to work with our partners to have a robust monitoring series of activities, both in the lead up to the elections and on election day throughout the country.
The biggest concern for those who want to travel to the US these days, maybe for education, is the ease in which funds can move. How easy now is the system? I've tried to get through. I've been to the embassy before, but a lot of people complain, the US process is so Herculean, it's so difficult. Do you get those complaints, and how do you address that?
I think you're talking about two separate issues. One is visas.
Yeah, not just,
And then the second is funding and restrictions on foreign exchange.
Yeah.
The first is something I can talk to. The foreign exchange is really about the Nigerian government putting limitations on foreign exchange. But when it comes to visas, we do have a backlog. It's a bit of a COVID hangover, right? As we reduced operations, demand continued. People continue to want to travel, which I think is a sign of our robust and powerful relationship, that people want to travel to the United States and do business, bring exports in from the U.S., vice versa. So we're working on the backlog. We had a corresponding, I like to say, a perfect storm, right? We had a big demand. We weren't able to work, and we lost staff because people went home, and we're finally fully staffed. One of the things we're working on is trying to extend the validity of visas so that people's visas last a little longer.
Okay.
And we're hopeful that will come through, and then the demand will be lessened, right? Because if your visa is valid for a little longer, then you don't need to come and renew it every couple of years.
Yeah, true.
So we're working on it. This summer we were prioritizing student visas. We have more than 6,000 student visas that we processed. And actually Nigeria is the largest sending country to the United States from the African continent. So more Nigerians.
For student visas? For
students studying in the United States at US universities. And those it's almost 13,000 Nigerians studying at US universities, which to me is absolutely incredible for Nigeria, because they come back with a U.S. education, but more than that, they have connections to U.S. research institutions, U.S. funding opportunities, U.S. businesses, because many of them do on-the-job training after their education. So they work for a year, and then they come back having worked at a top-notch American company, and they bring that expertise and that trading potential to your universities, to your institutions. It's an absolutely incredible thing, and something we're really focused on.
Let me ask you, from your standpoint, your vantage, where do you see a serious need for improvement from both parties as regarding relations? We've talked about health issues, we've talked about the elections, but what other key areas are of priority?
Yeah, I think there's two things that I like to talk about. One, I think there's untapped potential in the trade and investment arena. I think that this market is a massive market, right? And if you're a U.S. company, you should be thinking, how can you get into this market? Because this is the future of the continent and it's the future of the world. By 2050, 1 out of every 4 Africans will be Nigerian, right? It'll be the 3rd largest country in the world. So if you're trying to position yourself for the future as a U.S. company, you need to be thinking about this market. And so that's something I'm really focused on, is helping American companies come here, trade, and invest, thinking about how to produce here.